In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome everyone to Sports Opinions with Regular Guys on this very special Thanksgiving Day morning show. I'm Frank. This is Mike. Welcome and thank you for listening. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone and your families. Hope you're having a wonderful and safe Thanksgiving. Spending time with your families and eating the turkey and the ham and everything else that comes with it, and getting ready to watch hopefully some good football games today because the NBA is off. And we have a little bit to talk about. We won't have a long show today because you know we have families too. So we want to talk about the Bears and another loss by them. Of course, no surprise for me, surprise to him, but not surprise for me. And we want to talk about that, as well as so far a great week by the Bulls. They beat two of the best teams in the Eastern Conference this past week. You know, with especially the disappointing way they've been playing the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get into that and other things too. A couple of other games going on in the NFL. So let's get this started here, Mike, and start with the Chicago Bears. And their somewhat disappointing loss. Again, they made the game very close, but they could have won it. Like you said, they could have won it. And it was a loss 24-27, but it was more than that. Because at this point, at this time, we do not know the status of Justin Fields, who actually suffered
a separated shoulder.
Yeah, he suffered a separated shoulder when they were throwing him down on the ground, and when they weren't calling late hits on him. Like the refs are not calling on him like they're supposed to. Like they have no problem calling the other teams, but they don't call it on Justin Fields. And I've been seeing this all the time. They don't call it. I don't know why they don't, but they don't. And
that's wrong.
Now he got a separated shoulder. We don't know his status. We don't know if he's going to be out. They keep saying they list him day to day. But at this point, when you have a team that's 3-8, do you really want to risk playing him? Now, I think he still had a really good game. I mean, decent game. I mean, not as good as his other games, but he still threw 4 touchdowns. He still ran for a touchdown. He was still very effective in the game. You know, he threw for 153 yards, touchdown, interception. He was sacked 4 times, for God's sakes. But he also ran for 85 yards and rushed for a touchdown. So, and also too, you didn't have Justin Herbert on the team either. To lighten the load a little bit, but nonetheless, they somewhat had this game. I don't know if they had the game in control because it was a pretty close game for the most part. They should have won it, but it was still sort of a close game. And of course, like everything else, the Bears can't hold a lead because the defense is so bad. They just can't hold a lead to save their life. I mean, if you can't beat Detroit, you can't beat Atlanta. They're playing the Jets next, with a backup quarterback on top of that, someone named Michael White. I never even heard of the guy, but he's taking a lead and losing it. They lost their starter quarterback, and they benched him, one or the other. So, and unfortunately, the Jets are a better team than the Bears, and if you're not having Justin Fields play, that's going to be a loss, of course. And I hate to say it, but for me, this game coming up against the Jets is non-interesting to me. Because I'm watching these games not for the defense and not for the wins and losses, because we know the Bears are going to lose, but more watching it for the development of Justin Fields. I'll be honest with you, I'm pretty satisfied with what he's done. The only thing I want him to do now is play against Green Bay, and then you can shut him down for the rest of the year, as far as I'm concerned, and get ready for next season. You know, I would really want him to play against that Green Bay game, but overall, the same old story when it comes to the Bears on the defense. They can't stop the run. They can't stop the pass. They can't stop anyone. They had Mariota even though he only threw for 131 yards, he had 1 touchdown, but his passer rating was 100. But how did he win that game? Because he had no reason to win that game. Who won that game was Cordell freaking Patterson, the former Bear that we used to have. I can't remember. Why did we get rid of him? Oh, no. We didn't get rid of him. Matt Nagy got rid of him. Yeah. Nagy and Pace got rid of him. Why? I don't know. Because he's still very productive, but they got rid of him. And of course, he torches the Bears. He torches the Bears.
He started killing it in Atlanta.
He torched the Bears on special teams.
Yep.
Like he was helping the Bears on special teams when he was here.
Yep.
You know, and they get rid of him. Another mistake. You know what it reminds me of? When they got rid of Greg Olson, when they got rid of Robbie Gold. Oh boy, my goodness! Some of these players they just get rid of, and they go to other teams and they're productive.
Mistakes.
So I can't blame this management for that because they were not in here when that happened. There was a couple of years ago when they got rid of Cordell Patterson. That was the other regime that they got rid of him and didn't replace it with anybody. But Mariota, he didn't really have any spectacular game in my opinion. It's just the Bears defense can't stop shit. They can't stop the run. They can't stop the pass. They just let any defense do whatever they want, no matter who is quarterback. I mean, they could put a group of us together and they can't. And we could probably beat that defense. So, but it's not all a complete loss, folks. The Bears did lose, yes. They're 3-8, but they are moving further, closer to a top 3 pick in the NFL draft coming up. And with all the draft picks and all the money that they got coming up this offseason, because now I think you got to agree, Mike, that they got to think about the offseason at this point and what they're going to do, because I do believe that they are going to be a much, much more improved team, and they are going to be a playoff team next season because they're going to have double-digit wins. I see that in my crystal ball of the future.
Okay.
I know it looks damn not right now, but it's supposed to, because this year was supposed to. I said 3 to 4 wins. So, but overall, my hope is that Justin Fields gets better. I hope it's not really, really, really bad. I hope he doesn't miss too much time. I just want him to play against the Packers, and at that point, you can shut them down if they need to, and then just take the rest of the season as far as I'm concerned where it goes. You know, go ahead.
Well, Chicago Bears. Keep watching them. I keep seeing potential, and I keep seeing that they have opportunities to win the games. But somehow, some way, every single week, they end up blowing it. So this cannot be coincidental anymore. In my opinion, I thought that they were actually fighting and trying to win games, but right now, the way they keep blowing games at the end every single week tells me that they are trying to tank. And if that's what you're trying to do, Chicago Bears, don't bother bringing Justin Fields back the rest of the season. Let him rest. Let him heal up. Put Trevor Siemian out there, or whoever the other backup that we might have. Put them back out. Put them out there and let them develop and let them take, those hits that the offensive line, is allowing because they're not protecting the quarterback. Let that happen. I don't see the point. Yeah, I want to beat Green Bay because I said the Bears would beat Green Bay once this year, especially how the Green Bay Packers have been losing. Well, why bring Justin Fields back and risk him for injury again just to beat the Green Bay Packers? They're not going anywhere either. They're not doing anything. They're not going to go anywhere.
There's not much I want them to beat them because the Bears just have to beat that team at least once.
Yeah.
I mean, they've just been dominated over them year after year after year.
But at the cost of our future quarterback, our future star quarterback, I don't know.
Well, he's healthy enough.
This man has a separated shoulder because, he's in these meaningless games trying to win them. But I think the defense has been told secretly, hey, we need to lose these games so we can get some better picks. So, tank. This guy's trying his heart out. You can see it on his face when he loses. You can see it on his face when he's leaving the field. You can see it on his face when he goes up on the podium. You can see it. But I don't know. It was an interesting game to watch, but I'm starting to lose my interest, especially like Frank said. If Justin Fields isn't playing, I know it's going to be a trash team out there. Like, I don't expect to see anything. The Jets coming up. Like Frank said, they sat down Zach Wilson because he's been sucking it up pretty bad. The very interesting thing I don't get is why not start
Flacco.
Oh yeah, Joe Flacco. Why not start him, the experienced quarterback? Actually, when he started earlier this year, he was actually killing it before Zach Wilson came back. He won a couple of games for the Jets before Zach Wilson came back. So it's interesting that they're bringing this white guy, not Caucasian white. His last name is White. His first name escapes me right now. But so it's gonna be very interesting. Bless you. And
take over for a second.
So it's definitely gonna be very interesting to watch this game coming up. But I expect a loss. The Jets are overall a better team than the Bears, the way I see it, and I don't think the Bears are actually going to try and win this game. I think the Bears are going to make it competitive, but still find a way in the end to lose, which I'm really, really getting tired of watching. So my views now, I'm watching the games to watch the development of the Bears, but we all know what to expect right now. I expect more losses to mount up. My prediction of 7 wins this season is definitely not going to happen, seeing the rest of the schedule that we have. So, and especially with the future, Justin Fields being hurt. I'm looking forward to next year. Unfortunately, it's a long time from now to see what we do, but we definitely need to protect this quarterback. We definitely need to protect him. He should not have to run 100 yards per game to keep us competitive, just so we can lose it in the end anyway. Bring in somebody that can help him out. Bring him some people that are going to be able to protect him. And please, sit him out the rest of the season.
Well, I can agree with sitting him out the rest of the season. I just think if they let him try to play against Green Bay, if he can't, then fine, he can't.
How many weeks away from now is that?
That's next week.
Oh, no. With a separated shoulder?
And then they have their bye week. Believe it or not, this late in the season, they have a bye week, week 14. That makes no sense at all. How are you going to give a team a bye week this late in the season? The NFL needs to really straighten that bye week situation up. Put all the bye weeks between like week 8 and week 11, and that's it. Put all of them in that week. Just don't have as many games during that time, that period, okay? There's no reason why you have 17 games and you have your bye week in week 14. That makes no goddamn sense.
Well, they had that little mini bye.
No, but I'm talking their actual bye week is not until week 14.
Yeah, I follow.
Okay? They only have 17 games. Usually get their bye week 8, week 9, week 7, not week 14. They got to fix that up.
I got you.
As far as the Bears go, I know I sound like a broken record or like a parrot, but I said back in August or September that the Bears are only going to win 3 or 4 games. This is not a competitive year for them. They might play competitive against certain teams, but the close games they're going to lose. And they've pretty much been in every game for maybe the exception of 2 games, maybe. Okay? The Dallas game, they got blown out. Give it to you. Green Bay game, they kind of got out of it towards the second half to the end of that game. They got blown away or got beat that way. But other than those 2 games, they've been in pretty much every game. But they weren't going to win in most of those games because they don't have the talent to win those games on defense. They gave away their defensive pieces in the offseason and in the middle of this season. Okay? You don't know what you got with this offensive line. What it was how was Justin Fields going to adapt? How is he going to adjust? He has adjusted fine. He struggled those first couple of weeks, but then picked it up. Now he's hurt. I shouldn't say I'm surprised that he's hurt because the way the offensive line plays, and the lack of calls the refs don't give him, of course he's going to get hurt somehow. I'm glad it's a separated shoulder, not a blown out knee, or some other really serious injury. If it's just a separated non-throwing shoulder, then that's fine. It's not his throwing shoulder. He'll heal that up and he'll get better. So I'm not worried about that. But moving forward, if he's not going to play, then there's no point. I mean, obviously there's no point in watching the games. I'll probably still watch some of the games, of course, and keep up because we know I've obviously got to do the show. So I'll keep up and see what's going on in the games and watch some of them. But, I mean, other than Justin Fields, what else do you really want to watch in this team except for them to lose? So they have a better pick. That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
I've been looking to next year since this year started. So you knew that they had the most money of salary cap in the league. They're gonna have a lot of draft picks. So they got double fold. So they got 2-headed monster there. They got a lot of picks. They got all the money. So there's no reason to me why they should not win double-digit games next season. And that will really tell you how this coaching staff and this management team is running the Bears come next season, because they're gonna have everything in their disposal. They got their franchise quarterback. They got a good running game. Looks like they got, for the most part, the tight ends in place. They just got to get a new defense, really. Get a better offensive line. Maybe get another running back, because I don't know what they're going to do with Montgomery in the offseason. If they're going to keep him or let him go, look at these little posts on Facebook about Barkley from the New York Giants wants to play for the Bears. I don't know how true that is.
Man, I'll take him. Are you kidding? At least Justin Fields doesn't have to run for his life the entire game. Give it to someone else. I know Montgomery's out there. Montgomery's a really good running back. I love Dave Montgomery, but some help. And I think Saquon Barkley overall is a better running back than David Montgomery. I mean, overall, he's a beast as long as he's healthy.
Well, the Bears, for the most part, have always had a decent running game.
Yeah,
that's not really been their problem.
Yeah,
their problem has always been offense, quarterback, lack of wide receivers, lack of tight ends. Lack of big plays, modernizing the offense with the rest of the league. That's always been their problem. So that's what I think is the issue. But they're going to clear this all up, because, again, they have over $100 million they're going to be able to spend in the offseason. They got so many different picks that they got coming up in this draft. So, again, there's no reason why they cannot compete next season for a playoff spot. They're going to have I got them winning double-digit games.
Yeah.
And I expect nothing less than 12 wins next year, 11 to 12 wins, and a playoff spot next year. And next year is when they should be able to overtake Green Bay that way. And Minnesota, let's be honest, Minnesota's having a great year. Let's not take that away from them. They're having a great year. Okay.
But are they the best team in the NFL, or one of the best teams in the NFL?
They're not the best.
They're
not the best team record-wise. They are record-wise, but to me, they're not the best team in the NFL.
That's what I
And
feel.
also to say this, because this goes with their history too. They always come out with this one decent year where they have a really good record, one of the best records in the league, but they choke it in the playoffs. I don't see that changing. Yep. And then they fall completely off the board the next year. So I see that happening again. Yeah, they'll make the playoffs this year. They'll win the division, but they'll probably get knocked out in the first or second round of the playoffs, and then next year they won't even make the playoffs.
Yep.
So that's how I feel about them. So
they'll be talking about getting rid of Kirk Cousins next year.
Well, they probably could, but yeah, that's what I think about it. It's not too much more than really to say. I mean, the Bears are. The old term that the late great Danny Green said, the Bears are who we thought they were. At least that's who I thought they were. They're a non-playoff team. They're not going to have a really good competitive win-loss record, but they are playing hard. They are keeping they are staying in games. They are playing hard for the coaches, which is what I have not seen the last couple of years.
What?
Well, talent wins you games, Mike. It's not. It's the talent. I mean, ultimately, you got to have the talent to win the games.
Okay.
Lack of talent, you don't win anything. You can be competitive, but you're not going to win anything. Proof is in the pudding right there. That's why the Bears
They're
are
blowing these games. They could have won a lot of these games. They're blowing these games. It's not a lack of talent. They're sticking with these teams. If they didn't have talent, they'd be getting blown out every week like the damn Houston Texans.
Okay.
But they're not. They're in these games. They're actually in the lead, and then at the very end, with like a minute left, we blow it somehow.
So let me tell you this. Last year when we had Khalil Mack, we had Roquan Smith, we had Quinn. All these guys were on the team last year.
Mm-hmm.
We were getting blown out in games. We had some close games.
Horrible coaching.
Okay.
Horrible coaching.
Take Mack out the picture because he was gone in the offseason. These other guys you had on there. Smith, Quinn.
Yeah. Were they not all top performers in the NFL? Not just on our team.
But hold on. They were still losing games. Remember, they're 3-8. They only won 3 games. they were still losing those games.
Defensively, we were okay last year, but offensively, we sucked. Our offensive scheme sucked. Teams were seeing everything we were trying to do because our offensive scheme sucked.
Defense wasn't that good last year either, Mike.
Come on.
They were not that. Khalil Mack didn't do jack shit last year. I'm hurt. You had Hakeem Hicks hurt. He didn't do anything last year. We talked about this.
Yeah, I know.
And we agreed that we need to get rid of all those guys. And I'm glad we got rid of all of them. Roquan Smith, I thought he'd be the future, but obviously the Bears saw it differently. They like, well, you know what? Maybe we could get some picks for this guy because we're not going to resign him and spend that money on him. Quinn, we're not going to spend no money on him. We're going to rebuild this defense and make it younger and make it fresh and probably compete for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm looking forward to. With this draft, this is a very important upcoming offseason for the Bears because this is going to make or break them for the next 10 years. Okay?
10 years?
Yes. When you got your franchise quarterback in place. Can we agree on that?
Yes.
Okay. So that's where you start. Okay? And he's showing that he is the franchise quarterback.
I agree.
Now, we got to get that franchise defensive player on defense. And now we have all the money. We have all the draft picks to build this team up to compete for the next 10 years, like a Green Bay, like a New England, like how they've been staying competitive for the last 10, 15 years. Yeah. That's what I want. They may not win the Super Bowl every year, but they're going to make the playoffs every year. They're going to win the division every year. We don't have no incompetent management that we've had for the last 30 freaking years that's not consistent. Even when Lovie Smith was coaching with the Bears,
that was not
consistent. He kept the Bears competitive some years. But we're talking every year. You are making the playoffs consistently. Make the playoffs. They were not making the playoffs every year.
It's hard to do when you have a Green Bay Packers in your division, right?
Yeah, well, we all know that they're on their downslide. Okay,
they are. I admit to that.
So this is the perfect opportunity for the Bears. Are in perfect prime position. You can't ask for any better position where they're at right now. From next year and moving on. Green Bay is going down. The Bears' arrow is up. Green Bay's is down. They spent all their money. They put all of their assets and everything into Aaron Rodgers for the next 5 years. They got no money to spend. That's why they're losing all their games because now they realize what they got to do. They got to get themselves a wide receiver.
Right.
But they're going to have other problems than that. So I believe there's a prime position for the Bears, and hopefully we have a good, competent management team to make them competitive. And to make them competitive, not for next year, but we're talking the next 10 years. You want Justin Fields here for the next 10 years. You want this team to compete. And in the next 10 years, you want a couple of Super Bowls in there. You want conference championships. You want a bunch of division championships. And most of all, you want a lot of wins. And that's what I want. Maybe going back to the Bears of the 80s when Mike Ditka was here, when they were competing every single year and they were in the playoffs every single year he coached. Exception for his last year, they were in the playoffs every year. They were winning the division every year. They made deep playoff runs every year.
We're talking about the 80s, bro?
No, I'm saying they got to go back. But I remember when they were competitive at that point, and I was just a kid at that point. But guess what? They were making the playoffs every single year, winning the division every single year, making deep playoff runs every single year, going to the conference championship. Every other or so year, they were going to the conference championship. That's all I asked for. They were losing when they got there, but hell, they got there instead of having 3-8 records and 2-12 records and 6-11 or 6-12, whatever records. They weren't having that. We've been so stuck with that for the last 25 years, and every now and then we're having a competitive team. Every 7 or 8 years we'll get a competitive team? That's just unacceptable. What are we, the Detroit Lions?
They're not even competitive like that every 7 years. They haven't made it to no Super Bowl.
They've never been to the Super Bowl.
Right.
But
we have.
But that's what I'm saying. And I believe next year all starts with this offseason because this is going to make or break the Bears this offseason. With all of the assets and everything they got coming up in this offseason. This is going to make or break them or what the moves that they make because they have not had this type of money and draft picks forever.
Right.
So, and they got their franchise quarterback in place already. So they're not going to be looking for no quarterback. So now you got to look for everything else. Now, what team has that prestige if you already have your franchise quarterback? Not many franchise quarterbacks to begin with.
Right.
So you got yours now. Now you got to build the rest of your team up. So that's all I'm saying. So with that being said, do you have any other comments that you want to say about the Bears?
I'm looking forward to the game tomorrow just to see.
Sunday.
I'm sorry, Sunday. Wow, today is Thanksgiving. There are going to be games today, which are actually going to start in about an hour and a half. But yeah, I'm gonna watch the game either way, just to see how we do. I am not expecting more than a loss. Somehow we're gonna lose to this, third string quarterback. I can just see it already. No Justin Fields, no win. That's just the way things are gonna be. If they do win, hooray! But at this point, being at 3-8, I see no reason why they should even bother trying to get any more wins. Just like Frank said, go on ahead and get your picks on, get a high pick, bring someone else out as a superstar. Have another star on the team on the defensive side.
I do think they're going to spend. I can't say for sure if they're going to spend the draft or the money on the defense.
Yeah.
But there'll probably be a combination of it all. But they definitely got to get competitive, and I think they will because we have a defensive coach. So I don't see this coach Eberflus going to sit there and just keep your defensive coach and have to have a shitty defense. This year you give away your pieces to make up for the future. So. And the Bears traditionally have always been a good defensive team.
Yeah.
So I don't see that changing. I just want their offense to modernize, and I think it will.
Yeah. Let me talk about something real quick.
All right, go ahead.
Other than the Bears.
All right, so we're finished with the Bears, so we're moving on. Go ahead.
Yeah. So my most interesting game that I had last week was the 49ers and the Arizona Cardinals.
Really?
I thought it was very interesting.
That was a blowout.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Kyler Murray didn't play.
I think the 49ers are real, for one. I want to talk about Jimmy Garoppolo.
Jimmy G.
Yeah.
We have the Jimmy G hater here because he doesn't like Jimmy G. And if you listen to him, he's been trashing Jimmy G from the start. I've been praising that man.
You have, and I'm going to give it to you. And now, watching him play and being in the position that he was before, they're going to let him go.
Yeah.
They let him heal up just so they can use him as trade bait and let him go.
They couldn't trade him.
They couldn't trade him. So they re-signed him again for a low contract, but with a lot with a lot of incentives.
It was a backup quarterback.
They were so ready to let this man go. And now look who the savior of the team is.
Jimmy G.
Jimmy Garoppolo. The 49ers are 6-4.
Mm-hmm. They wouldn't be there with Trey Lance, I'll tell you that much.
Exactly. That's the point I was going to get at. So the guy that they chose over him, I don't know. If I was in Jimmy Garoppolo's shoes, I don't know if I would be performing like this for this team that was ready to let him go. They're not going to let him go anymore.
They don't really have a choice.
They're not going to let him go anymore.
Because they already got their Trey Lance.
Really?
So he's a free. If I'm mistaken, he's a free agent. He can go wherever he wants. You don't think there'll be teams competing again?
Hell yeah! After this performance this year.
So the 49ers, if they were smart, they would have locked him up. They should have got rid of him to begin with. Or try to trade him. They should have just signed him for a long-term deal. But they screwed that up.
Yeah.
So it's hard to determine what they're going to do because they got their future in Trey Lance. They didn't expect this. But why don't you? This guy's been keeping you competitive for the last several years. Oh, he doesn't score a lot.
But he
manages
the playoffs.
He manages the game. He manages the game. He does. Here's what he doesn't do. Here's what Jimmy G does not do. He does not. Games? No, he does not lose games. Okay, he does not lose games. He actually put on a pretty good performance on Monday night. He threw for 4 touchdown passes.
Yes, that's what I'm praising this man for because I've been watching these games and watching him play because they've been getting a lot of airtime, and I'm impressed. And
I believe they're going to leapfrog Seattle because I'm not trusting Seattle.
Oh, that's what I was about to. You beat me to it.
I don't trust that team. They're the more experienced team.
For a little while, Seattle was looking pretty, right? They were number 1. Yeah. They were looking pretty. And they ate a couple of losses while the 49ers have been winning. And Garoppolo's been kicking ass.
Seattle's going back to reality. They weren't a good team coming into the season.
They're a good team, man.
They weren't a good team coming into the season. They expected to be crap. They expected to be trash. They're rebuilding. They traded Russell Wilson for nobody, for picks. They already had Geno Smith as the backup.
Did they go wrong with Russell Wilson? Look what he's doing in Denver.
Well,
they didn't go wrong.
But they didn't go wrong with it. But that's my point. They traded him because they're rebuilding. They didn't expect. They did not expect to compete this season coming in. They did not. None of us had them competing this season. They expected to be a trash team this upcoming season. They were, okay? A top-tier, high-pick draft team, bottom-feeding team. That's what they were expected to be. That hasn't been the case. And that's only because, one, they've been overachieving, and two, the division hasn't been very good. Hence, the Arizona Cardinals have been stinking it up.
Yep.
And most importantly in that division, the defending Super Bowl champions are having that Super Bowl hangover.
Yes, they are.
You know, and they're completely done for the season after the news that came out that Stafford is not going to be playing. He's hurt.
And Cooper Kupp is hurt too. I mean,
so are their playoff dreams
so
for the
it's
season.
done. Their season's done.
Now, man, if there's any way possible, would you be willing, if you were the Bears, to possibly give up a couple of those picks that they got
for Cooper Kupp
to get Cooper Kupp?
Hell yeah!
You know,
hell yeah! I dangle those picks out. I'll take Cooper Kupp all day. This man catches everything. Everything.
Yes, he does.
I mean, he gets targeted like 15 times a game, and he somehow catches 12 passes. I mean, you know the ball's going to this man. You're doubling him, and somehow he's still catching balls.
Do you know?
Catching touchdowns. That's
do
crazy.
You know that the Rams
Crazy.
Are basically in the same position as the Bears with one of the worst records in the league?
3-7.
They're 3-7.
I saw that.
This is the defending Super Bowl champion. When was the last time a defending Super Bowl champion had a record like this?
That's what you call the Super Bowl hangover, right?
Yeah. Again, as I mentioned, in the NFL, it's very, 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 very tough
that repeat?
to repeat as champions. I mean, the last team to do it was the Patriots 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's not going to happen. It's just too competitive in the NFL. There's too many changes that make that happen. Too many injuries that make a difference in the team. You know, it just doesn't seem. Oh, fine. My nose just itches.
Oh, okay.
So it's hard to do that. So you have them doing 3-7, and then you have Seattle overachieving at 6-4. Then you have Arizona, who was expected. I don't know why they thought that team would be competitive. Everyone picked them. I kind of saw the writing on the wall with Arizona last season. Yeah. You remember when they had started the season? They started like, I don't know, what was it? 8-0 or
that was last
something
year,
like that.
right?
Yeah, they had like a really good record,
and they went on.
They just stumbled and fell
else.
apart.
Yep.
And they have just gotten worse since then.
Yeah, it just kept on rolling.
Yeah,
it just kept on rolling this year.
And let's be honest. You know, I'm not hating on the man because he is a competitor, and he is an NFL quarterback. But is it safe to say at this point, Kyler Murray is overrated, guys?
Overrated.
And I don't see him doing much. I just think
overrated.
I think everyone put too much stock in him because he had a couple of good games last year, but obviously, you saw what happened.
He had a couple of.
He had a good first half, and the reason why the year before they stunk, so he was doing good there, and they thought they had something. And to a certain point, I don't blame them. They thought they did have something, but right now they don't. And then that's why they put that clause in his contract. He's not watching film. That's what they felt.
You're
that.
Still stuck on the film.
Well, because they why would a team put that in their contract if they felt that this guy was not doing his job and taking it seriously and taking his job seriously and watching film like all quarterbacks do? You know, he obviously didn't want to do it because he felt disrespected by doing it, but they put it in his contract, and then he wanted to bitch and moan. Oh, that's in my contract, like these millennials now with these baby, when you want to baby these players, you know, with this era now of players. And they had to go back. Well, we're not gonna take it out. I don't think they took it out of the contract. Say, well, he doesn't have to do that. No, I think you should institute that back in his contract because obviously that kid has a lot to learn, and the way he's looking right now. Arizona might rethink that contract they gave him and may have to just restructure it or just do a straight out cut him altogether and think about drafting another quarterback next season.
Well, he's gonna have to put in some work on some fundamentals for one. His balls get batted down a lot. That has to do with him being 6 foot. I know they like to say, "Oh, he's 6'2". No, he's not.
He can run, but he doesn't have an arm like Justin Fields.
He
He's
doesn't
not accurate
have
like
the
Justin
legs
Fields
either. He pumps his little legs so fast. But I don't know. He does not have that same magic from the first time we saw Kyler Murray out there. I'm sorry. I think the league, I know I like to say this a lot. They caught up with him.
I believe that.
They bat the shit out of his balls, and you see it every single week when he's healthy. You know, someone's batting his balls down. They know what he's gonna try and do, and they have caught up to him. They're gonna have to work on him changing up his game and maybe expanding his game a little bit more than just trying to run like Justin Fields.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna have to develop a passing game. You're gonna have to throw that ball over those 6'6", 6'7".
You would think you learned this 3 years in the league
that
now,
have
right?
their arms up and jumping to bat your balls down. Hey, you're gonna have to work through that, man. So,
What is this? Is this like his 3rd year now?
It might be his 4th year, no?
3rd or 4th year? I mean, God, if you haven't developed by now, I mean, if you're digressing when you were up, when you were progressing, now you're digressing. Year 4. I mean, that kind of tells you may want to rethink about your future.
I agree.
And that's what Arizona is stuck with. So, but they're not going to have they're going to have a decent pick, but the Bears are going to have a better pick, you know. So we'll see what happens. Maybe for him, do you think maybe a change of scenery?
A change of scenery might do
better.
Good. Where would you send him?
Well,
where could you send him that he could be used? Carolina, Jacksonville.
I don't know about Jacksonville.
The Jets.
I would say Jacksonville, but I will say Carolina because it looks like Baker Mayfield is just.
Oh no, he's done. That's my boy.
I actually thought I don't like him much, but
That's
I thought
boy.
that he would have a somewhat of a turnaround year because of I guess Cleveland was right to get rid of him. Well, I don't know if it was that because you think if he would have stayed in Cleveland, he still would have been decent. If he would have stayed in Cleveland,
no, he lost his team.
He didn't lose his team. The team lost. The team didn't want. They either got rid of him because they wanted to get Watson. Remember, he didn't ask to leave. They actually.
Before all that was happening, he lost his locker room. You know, he was pointing the finger at this person, pointing his finger at this person. Oh, we need to do this. Maybe if some players would do this, maybe players need to focus on this. He was acting like he was the coach. And bro, you just got in the league. You can't be sitting up there talking like that. And that's why he lost his locker room. They were letting him get rocked. They were letting him get hit. He kept getting hurt. He kept trying to stay in, regardless of being hurt, having a separated shoulder, having a bad hamstring, broken toe. It didn't matter. He just kept wanting to stay in, and it's like his team did not want him there. Well, so they got rid of him.
Okay. Well, quickly, I want to get into a couple of games.
Go ahead. Let's go.
Moving on. One of the biggest upsets last week, a big upset to my opinion, was what the Cowboys did to the Vikings in Minnesota last weekend.
I wasn't surprised.
I'm not surprised the Cowboys won, but what I am surprised at is the score. They just completely destroyed the Vikings, 40-3. They said this is the biggest blowout win by the Cowboys on the road in their franchise history.
It was.
And the Cowboys have been around for a very long time. 40-3. You mean to tell me this high-powered offense that Minnesota has can only muster up 3 points at home against the Cowboys? Even the Bears put it on the Cowboys defense by putting up damn near 30 points on that Cowboys defense. You mean to tell me Minnesota's high-powered offense that they got with Jefferson, Cousins, and all those other guys there with their 8-1 record? Well, now it's 8-2. But you would think that even if they did lose, they would make the game competitive. It wasn't even competitive, Mike.
No.
Kirk Cousins only threw for 105 yards.
And got sacked 7 times.
Yep. No touchdowns, no interceptions. They did nothing.
Finger-licking good defense.
And what did Jefferson do? He wasn't even on the list of receiving. Was it? What did he do? 33 yards, three receiving yards? You know who did kill it? Was Tony Pollard in his 109 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. And Dak Prescott with his 276 passing yards. And 2 touchdowns. So I guess I'll be nice. Michael Irvin had a lot to celebrate.
Oh boy, I loved it. I watched First Take.
He had a lot to celebrate.
That day when he came out and Stephen A. Smith was sitting there looking out the window, Michael Irvin took it to him. He took it to him that day. He talked so much shit. It was hilarious. And it was all good shit because the Cowboys came out and they put in work. Like I told you they would.
I don't watch much of that.
Dak Prescott is a beast.
Yeah.
276 yards, passing 2 touchdowns. You can't take that away from him. You really can't. You got They even brought Cooper Rush in the damn game because it was such a big blowout.
Yeah.
You know, this guy right here, this is who we should be talking about, is Tony Pollard.
Well, it was a collective team effort. They rushed for 151 rushing
You know what
yards.
I've been hearing? I've been hearing that Tony Pollard is going to take Zeke's job.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, Zeke Elliott had two touchdowns. Let me tell you about those 2 touchdowns.
He
Were those 2 touchdowns inside the red zone?
Yep.
So Pollard did all the work,
Yep.
and they put Ezekiel Elliott in there just to get the touchdowns. Does that remind you of a Jerome Bettis at the end of his career?
I thought you were going to bring up
Emmitt Smith. No, Emmitt Smith wasn't getting the touchdowns. Emmitt Smith was just getting bullshit yards at the end of his career to overtake Walter Payton's record at the end of his career. You know, that's what happened there. But this reminds me of Jerome Bettis, the bus, at the end of his career, when they would just have him. We're gonna have, I forgot who was the running back. We're gonna have him rush down and be the bulldozer and just be the workhorse to get all the way down to the end zone, just so that the bus can get in there and take my touchdown that I earned. You know, Ezekiel Elliott. I'm sorry, but I've been saying this for a while. This guy is done. He is already back. He's already peaked.
Look,
he's peaked.
They both carried the ball 15 times. Pollard 80 yards.
Double the yards.
Zeke 42. But the most important part. Look at the receiving. Who led the team in receiving?
Pollard.
Tony Pollard. 6 receptions for 109 yards.
CeeDee Lamb only had 45 receiving yards. So you ask yourself, how the hell did they put up 40 points? Dak only threw for 2 touchdowns.
Well, Zeke got 2 touchdowns.
But Ezekiel Elliott,
Pollard got 2
ran
touchdowns.
for 2 really. Let's call those Tony Pollard's touchdowns, not Ezekiel Elliott's touchdowns. So, yeah. So they put up 4 touchdowns. But that's only 28 points. Where the other, 12 points come in at? So
field goals and defense.
But they blew this shit out of Minnesota out. They blew them out in their own stadium, which was lovely to see. As you know, I don't like the Cowboys.
I know you don't.
But I am always a Cowboy fan whenever they play the Vikings and whenever they play the Packers. So I was loving that game. That was lovely to see. I enjoyed it, and I don't like this team, but I enjoyed it. So. Michael Irvin had every reason to celebrate, So, but I don't really watch those guys at all because I just don't like them at all. But anyway, but that's one game I wanted to mention. And then what I also want to talk about too is what is with the surging Detroit Lions? They're going to be playing in about another hour and a half or so from now.
3 wins
they
in a
beat
row.
the Giants.
Yes, they did.
They won 3 in a row.
3 games in a row.
I mean, I saw this out of nowhere. This came out of nowhere. The Lions won another game, and I told you they are a high-powered offensive team.
But why are they bothering, right? They only have 1 more win than we do.
Yes,
right?
but
why are they bothering? Why aren't they just taking just like the Bears
are a high-powered offensive
Why
team.
aren't they taking like the Bears are? Here, I don't understand how you're celebrating the Lions getting these meaningless wins because they're not going anywhere.
True, that's true.
But the Bears, we want them to tank.
Because
why are they trying?
Because the Bears, we know from the start, this is a rebuilding year. They're not going anywhere. Okay, and we expect them to be bad, and we just want to see the development of the quarterback. The Lions, they traded away Stafford for Goff.
Which he got a Super Bowl right away.
Yes, but they're also rebuilding too. But the thing about Detroit, they've always, for the most part, the last several years since they've had Stafford, they've always had a decent offense. You can't take away that. It's not their offense. Detroit always be scoring 25, 30 points a game a lot of times. So that's never really been their issue. Their issue is their defense has been bad, their special teams is bad, and they always do bonehead plays on offense to lose them a game. So obviously, these last couple of games they've been winning, but they were in close games too this season.
Yeah.
So they could easily be at a 500 team or more. They could be,
just like the Bears.
Yeah, they could be a 4-4 team or a 5-3 team or whatever.
Who are they playing today?
They are playing the Bills. They're playing the Bills.
They're about to get washed.
Well, you never know. They've been competitive in these last couple of games. They beat the Giants, and you sweat the Giants all year long.
Washed. There's no way that's happening today.
Well, we'll see.
There's no way the Bills.
But that was an upset win. Tell me, how did that happen? Well, how did they beat the Giants? And the Giants are supposed to they weren't expected to be competitive, but they ended up being competitive this year.
Well, Jones had like 2 interceptions, 2 crucial interceptions, and Goff was making plays happen. He didn't have any touchdowns, you know.
Yeah. So how did they win? How did they put up 31 points without Goff throwing a touchdown at all? Here's how you do it. You had Williams, who rushed for 3 touchdowns, right, and Swift, who ran for another touchdown. So they had 4 rushing touchdowns.
It was all on the ground.
You know, receiving, only 165 receiving yards.
Yeah, but it was all on the ground.
Now the Giants, Jones threw for 341 yards.
But 2 interceptions did him in. Those 2 interceptions versus
Barkley had a horrible game,
he did.
rushing wise.
15 carries for 22. He had a bad game.
No touchdowns. So, I mean, I'd give him a bad game. He really has a bad game. He's going to have one. Anybody who had fantasy on him for the fantasy did were very disappointed.
Yeah, they were.
You know, so that was an upset one. I just had to mention that slightly there because Detroit, hey, I wouldn't be surprised if this is an upset. I expect the Bills to win this game, but that's not a mistake. Detroit can put up just the amount of points that Buffalo can put up. And Buffalo's defense has been struggling lately. So you don't want to play around with Detroit Lions. Obviously, you can see the last few weeks, the Bears played around with them and lost. New York played around with them and lost. Green Bay played around with them and lost.
They beat quality teams. They beat
all those teams. You know, and believe me, Detroit was what? What were they? Playing the games, they were coming in with 1 win before the 3. Before they won the 3 in a row, they were 1 in 6, something like that, and they ended up winning 3 in a row. Don't be surprised if they win. I don't expect them to, but I certainly wouldn't be surprised if they do. And lastly, on these games, you know I cannot finish this out without talking about the Packers losing again in Green Bay against the Tennessee Titans. And Tannehill.
What did you think was going to happen that game, though?
Well, I knew that Tennessee was going to win. But, you know, Green Bay seems to play better at home.
Aaron Rodgers has a messed up thumb. Now it's broken. His right thumb is legit.
Well, she doesn't get reports. It's broken, but now they're saying it was broken in that game, or was it broken in the game that was played against?
At the end of this game, but remember, he had that rap on it to begin with because it was messed up a couple.
They were saying that he might have broke it when he was playing against New York and London a few weeks ago.
Right. When he fell down on it, you saw him holding it. Yeah. So, and he still played. The man still had 2 touchdowns and 227 yards passing. Right.
Now, is this on his throwing arm?
Yes. It's his right arm.
So you think? So what do you think is going to happen with the situation?
They're talking about either sitting him down.
He's not going to sit down.
He doesn't want to sit. He says he's going to take his hand up and he's going to play.
He's not sitting down.
Does that give them the best chance of winning? Having a quarterback with his broken thumb. They sat Dak Prescott down for this. Remember, just the beginning of this year.
Yeah, but Aaron Rodgers is a competitor. He's I don't like him, but he's a competitor. I'll give him that. He's a competitor. He's not going to sit down.
That's kind of
He's
cheap.
not. No.
That's kind of cheap to take at Dak Prescott. He is a competitor too. Though.
Dak Prescott.
He's a competitor. Come on now.
Honestly, he's not a competitor. But what I'm saying is, Aaron Rodgers is a veteran competitor. He's not sitting down for nothing. He doesn't care if his team is shitty. He knows he's not going anywhere, but he still wants to play. He still wants to get in there and play. He you know, and from the Green Bay Packers standpoint, you better play him because he's getting paid.
Exactly.
He's getting paid all that money. He demanded.
Exactly.
So you play him.
You know how much heat you're gonna catch if you don't play, since you got like one of the highest.
I mean, he had a pretty accurate game. He didn't throw any picks. He threw 2 touchdowns, 227.
Yep.
Can we get to the point now where Aaron Rodgers is not going to be throwing 300 yards consistently right now?
Nope.
Not with the team that he has around him. Now, Randall Cobb actually was leading that team in receiving yards.
Came back.
Teams.
73 yards.
No
I was waiting to see what my boy Christian Watson did. Oh, you know what he did?
Nothing.
He grabbed 2 touchdown passes.
48 yards.
2 touchdown passes.
What about Lazard?
Lazard is good. He needs to do more.
So,
but right now, man, the Packers are done. The Packers have one more win than we do.
Well, it gets worse for them because they're playing
done.
the Eagles in Philadelphia on Sunday
and
night.
they're gonna get treated.
Now, on the other side of this is the Tennessee Titans. Tannehill had a really good game. He threw for 333 yards. He threw for 2 touchdown passes. He did throw that one little pick, but it wasn't so bad.
No.
But Derrick Henry. Now, some people will say he didn't really have a big breakout game. But what I saw is I thought he had a decent game to me because he was running all over the Packers, in my opinion.
Derrick Henry passed for a touchdown.
Yeah.
And he rushed for a touchdown.
Well, I mean his running game.
Okay.
His rushing game. You know, Green Bay actually kept the team for the first time in how long under 100 yards.
Surprisingly.
Yeah. So and then you had Derrick Henry. He received for 45 yards. But I mean that's a beast. I'm glad we don't play them this season. Because man, oh man, Derrick Henry is a beast.
Yeah,
and I knew he was going to just shred up the Green Bay Packers. It's sort of in a way he kind of did with the receiving and
87 rushing yards. I mean,
basically overall he had over 100 yards against them.
He outrushed the entire team. He outrushed the entire Green Bay Packer team, which had 56 rushing yards total. So
I talk about the Packers because I love this. I love seeing them at a 3-7 record. It really lights me up.
Especially after this guy did all this in the offseason to get all that money. I love Aaron Rodgers. I'm sorry. I love him. And I've been talking shit about that deal and about his greed to get that deal. It was greedy, bro. This man's made so much money already. Why did you need to get that much money?
I don't think he wanted to play there. I think Green Bay threw that he had to take it because Green Bay threw everything in him.
He could go somewhere else.
He could have gone somewhere else, but Green Bay was desperate to keep him. They were going to throw everything at him they could get him to keep him.
Would you get rid of your two-time MVP and league MVP? I wouldn't get rid of him.
Yeah, Green Bay. I mean, Aaron Rodgers had no choice. He's like, you know what? I'm never going to see this kind of money again in my life, so let me take it.
I have something for you. I have something for you real quick. Every week you talk to me about why Devontae Adams left, right? You said he left because he wanted to leave.
Yes.
So he went on record, and they asked him about it, and the man did say the reason he left is because of how Aaron Rodgers was keeping the team in limbo. Like, he couldn't decide whether he was going to stay, retire, play. So he did not like the fact that this man was keeping the team in limbo. He didn't know what his future was going to be because of what Aaron Rodgers was doing. So he decided to leave. And he said that.
I don't blame him.
So that's why he left.
It wasn't money. I told you this.
They could have paid Adams, and I guarantee you this 4-7 right now will be fucking 7-4. If not better.
Well, we mentioned this many times. Okay. They offered him more money than the Raiders did.
It was his greed that put the Packers where they're at right now. That's what I'm just trying to say. Is that greed
I don't think
that got you a 4-7 record with no receivers to catch the damn ball except for old ass. Sorry to say it, but your oldest receiver, Randall Cobb. You got nobody. No security around you. No one really protecting you. You got a broken thumb now.
Well,
it's over.
But here's the thing. Aaron Rodgers, in my opinion, I don't think he wanted to play there. It's not the Packers fans and stuff. He wanted to leave because he doesn't like the coach. He doesn't like the management, the direction they're going at. He's still bitter because they had drafted Jordan Love. He felt disrespected.
Someone had to.
And then I don't think he. And the problem is that coach. That coach is a younger coach. He's more of a younger coach in Aaron Rodgers' age range, and he doesn't like that guy. I don't care what they say. You see him getting into arguments with that coach on the sidelines. He doesn't like LaFleur, whatever his name is. He doesn't like him, and he doesn't. I don't think he gets along with them. And yes, he's giving you a decent record, but I don't think Aaron Rodgers does not like. I don't think he gets along. He doesn't like his coaching. I don't think he wants to be with that guy anymore. So he wanted to get the hell out of there. But they threw so much money at him, and I think LaFleur would have been happy if Aaron Rodgers left. Like, I don't want him here. But management said no. We're not pulling a Brett Favre like we did 10, 15 years ago when Brett Favre retired and came back. He said, no, he's not going to play. We're going with Aaron Rodgers. We're not going to pull that shit again. And Brett Favre even warned Aaron Rodgers about that shit that they pull. So Green Bay decided we're not going to make that same mistake again. So we're going to lock him up, and they did everything they can. They made sure this time look, if you leave us, it's not going to be about money because we offered you the whole goddamn bank.
Yeah.
And you turn this down, that means you don't want to play here no more. And Aaron Rodgers like, I don't want to play here no more, but shit, I can't turn down that kind of money.
Yeah, that's good money. Good
they're
money.
done, and they're 3-7. They're gonna be 4-8 after next.
You don't think Aaron Rodgers overshadows LaFleur? He overshadows him. I think LaFleur has trouble leading the team the way he wants to because he has Aaron Rodgers on his team.
Yeah.
You can't really tell Rodgers what to do. Rodgers is gonna tell you, look, bro, I've been in this league. I'm a 2-time MVP. I done this. This is my team.
But guess what? As you saw in the playoffs the last couple of years, it wasn't Aaron Rodgers that lost in the game. It was a decision of the coaches.
Correct.
That ran the plays that Aaron Rodgers didn't like.
Correct.
And that's why Aaron Rodgers does not like that, does not care for that coach.
You're right.
And if you remember in the playoffs when I think they had ran a play or something towards the end. The last couple of years in the playoffs,
Yeah, I remember.
To get to the Super Bowl, I think against Tampa Bay. And who else was to beat them last year?
San Francisco.
San Francisco, yeah. Especially that San Francisco game.
Yep.
Yeah, his special teams have been horrible. So it wasn't Aaron Rodgers' fault. Like in the past when Brett Favre was playing there, Brett Favre would lose in the game because he would throw some boneheaded interception at the end of the game, which everyone expected that to happen. At least I did. With Green Bay, I expect them not to go back to the Super Bowl because they're going to make some kind of bonehead move that's going to lose in the game. Special teams, they didn't spend no money on. They just completely abandoned it. That's one thing about the NFL. One thing you got to make sure you have is an average to decent special teams. It doesn't have to be the best. But special teams, usually it comes down to special teams, especially in the playoffs.
Yep.
Field goal, kick return, punt return, something where your special teams fails and fucks up and you lose the game.
That's what it is, right? You match up well offense, you match up well defense, but if you got a weak special teams, they got a good special teams. That's your
Cody Parkey, remember him?
Oh yeah, double doink, double doink.
So that's gonna wrap up the NFL talk. Yeah. We want to quickly get into the Bulls.
Let's just talk about the Bulls today. We'll do an NBA show.
The Bulls had a really good week so far. Mike, they beat the top two teams in the Eastern Conference this week.
Yes, they did.
Back to back.
Yes, they did.
They had hosted Boston here on Monday, and beat them. They were competitive in the game and stayed competitive. And down the stretch, they pulled away and they beat Boston. It was a great game. They broke their 6-game losing streak. And not only that, Boston has one of the best records in the league, and they only have 4 losses.
Yep.
And 2 of those losses happen to be against the Bulls. And then what happens yesterday? Big upset win against the Milwaukee Bucks.
Thank you, Kobe White, for those 2 clutch threes.
And we're talking about the Milwaukee Bucks has been dominating the Bulls the last couple of years. And they go up to Milwaukee, which they haven't, I guess regular season games. They
haven't won in
5 years.
That's crazy.
But
that's a crazy
they did go in the playoffs last year and beat them in that one game in Milwaukee. But they go in there and beat them. Now, what I noticed about the Bulls is their record isn't that good right now. They only got 8 wins. They're still 2 games under, but they have a long way to go. But they have been beating the top teams on those records. So if they continue to do that, that's a good thing. My problem with the Bulls, Mike, is why aren't you beating the crappy bottom-feeding cellar teams?
They will
like the Orlando Magic.
They will now.
Okay.
Well, the Magic is actually pretty good. The Magic are pretty good. They got a young core. They got Paolo Banchero. He's killing it. They got a young core. But I get what you're saying. For a team that has a DeMar DeRozan, a team that has a Vucevic, a team that has
did really well. He told that game yesterday. He was hitting those 3. And that was what I said.
Yep.
Vucevic, what he does is, if you notice this, he hits 3s, right?
Yep.
But he hits them at the beginning of the game, or the first quarter, the second quarter, but he completely disappears from that in the fourth quarter. But yesterday, he finally woke the hell up and started hitting some competitive 3s. And you had to make Lopez get out there and defend him, or you had to make Giannis get out there and defend him. They weren't doing that. They said, shoot it. And then he shot it, and he started making those shots. So now Milwaukee has to realize, okay, you're going to double team DeRozan. Then you're going to leave Vooch open for the 3. He's going to make you pay the price. Just like when they would leave Lopez open for 3s to make
he makes you pay the price.
This time now he has to go out there and defend. So they had a really good win. This is a good restart for them. Now they need to build off of this
And beat the crappy teams.
and put together an 8-game, 10-game winning streak. So you get back to being over 500, get back to being one of the top teams in the league. I mean, my goodness, you had Brooklyn over leapfrog them. Of course, Boston and Milwaukee, they leapfrogged them a while ago. But all these other teams leapfrogged them. Toronto and all these other teams leapfrogging them. You know, being under 500, this team is not supposed to be under 500. Not with the team, not with this talent they got here. Okay, so we'll see what they build on this. It kind of re-energized me because I told you last show that we had, I'm very disappointed with the Bulls season so far.
Well, they're about to go on a pretty
West Coast trip.
Yes.
Well, Oklahoma City. That should be a winnable game, and Utah should be a winnable game.
Utah is one of the top teams in the West right now.
They're
one of the top teams in the West. I'm not taking that away.
You say I kind of smoke and mirrors.
And then we got the Phoenix Suns.
That's different.
That's going to be an ass whooping.
Yeah,
and then we're going to see the Golden State Warriors. And then we're going to see the Sacramento Kings. After that, then we got a little breathing room with some wins.
I don't know. Washington beat us that.
Yeah, but they're not going to beat us again. They tapered off. Dallas is going to be a tough matchup. And then from there on, we're going to be good. But for these next 5-6 games, man, we're going to be in it. So we're going to need to pull out a win against
Phoenix.
See
this? Look at December 14th and 16th. They're playing New York back-to-back at home.
Isn't that what you call a rubber match?
No, not like this. Usually when you're playing home and home, you're playing at home and you're playing on the road against the same team back-to-back. Well, I don't know how they did the schedule, and this is
they're just gonna
play New York on a Wednesday, December 14th here, and then again that Friday again here. That's like a playoff, when you have the first 2 games here, and then they go to New York another week later to play them again
at New York.
I don't know what these schedule makers did, but that does that.
New York's just gonna chill here for a week.
Not for a few days. But that's in December. But we'll see what happens. I just wanted to mention that the Bulls, impressive 2 wins.
Yeah.
Opened up the season when they beat the Miami Heat. They've been beating these teams. So they've been beating the top teams that made the playoffs last year. The Miami Heat, Boston twice. They beat Brooklyn. They had beat Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And then they beat Milwaukee. So that's what we asked for. Beat these good teams. You want to know if they could beat the good teams. So far, they are beating the good teams.
Yeah, they are. And
in the East, where they're supposed to be.
We're talking about Boston. It wasn't a fluke since we beat them twice, right?
No, it's not a fluke.
And they had their Jason Tatum and Brown out.
They played Boston 3 times. I don't think they played. I don't think they played them
them
again. Do they play them again this season?
I think we see them one more time.
Yeah, they do. No, I don't know. Because some of these teams they only play them 3 times. Some they play 4, but they've already played them 3, so they only play them 1 more time.
Oh, so we lost 1 and won 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
They've already played them 3 games, and they're not even 2 months into the season. Right. But we'll see what happens. But I am very. They bounced back, especially when I had that little rant on them last week. But they bounced back because it was ridiculous. They were 6-10, 6-10.
I know.
And that makes no sense. And then I'm sorry, J.R. Levine. I still think it's a big mistake that he's re-signed here.
Bro, he's averaging 21 points a game.
He should be averaging 30 points a game.
Wow,
you're paying him
225.
You're paying, but DeRozan ain't getting paid $250 million. Okay, max contract. He's not the one being introduced last on the team as the captain. Okay, he's not the one sitting out back-to-back games.
So you'd rather have Levine take the final shot when you know...
Is he not the star? Supposed to be the star? You gave him max money?
He's
your franchise player?
And you know that DeRozan can hit that shot 9 out of 10 times versus Levine hitting it 6 out of 10 times. I'd rather put it in DeRozan's hands.
So then this is what should have happened. JR, you're not the leader of this team anymore. DeRozan's the leader of this team. He's going to be taking all the shots. We're going to restructure your contract and give you $80 million instead of $200 million. We're going to give you a 2-year contract, and that's it.
You're going to end up losing a guy that's capable.
Well, then we'll lose him because he is not. You can use that money to get other players, Mike.
And then what? Waste DeRozan right now?
Don't waste DeRozan.
Someone else there to help him. Because no one else is going to put up 21 points per game on that team, man.
Vucevic is putting up 20 points a game. You say
He's not.
you keep sweating him as a double-double, man.
He is. He's putting up 16 points and 12 rebounds per game. That is a very good double-double.
All I'm saying about this is he's not living up to that contract. Okay? You paid him 5 years, the most money the Bulls ever gave anybody ever in franchise history.
Hey, it's 2022.
Okay? And he is not living up to it. You know, he's already on my shit list when he started the season, missing the first 2 games.
We still won one of those games, right?
So, I'm sorry. He has a lot to prove to me. You know, I'm sorry. He has a lot to prove to me. And making the playoffs just ain't enough for me, buddy. You need to win a playoff
It was.
series.
Last year you said that if they would make the playoffs.
And win a playoff series.
You added that on.
Okay? So, I'm sorry. That's not going to work. But I am very impressed with the last 2 wins that they got against these top 2 teams in the East.
I am.
You have any closing thoughts on that?
No.
Were you impressed with those?
I was impressed. I was impressed with their wins. Now I'm just looking forward to this road trip. I expect a win in OKC.
500 would be good.
Yeah. But I'm not expecting much in Phoenix, and I'm not expecting much in Golden State. The rest, I'll toss up in the air.
$37 million a year.
Yeah.
22 points. That's what we're getting for $37 million a year. 22 points. You can't play every other game. Can't play back-to-back games. Money well spent.
He's out there playing.
While you got DeRozan, who's earning his money.
$27 million.
Yeah, I mean, he's earning his money.
Is this guy earning his money?
Oh no, Mr. $20 million man.
Lonzo Ball.
That's got to be lovely to
sitting down
sit
since last January.
Yeah.
I mean, they should make a move with that. Like as I was saying, for guys like this,
what team
you're eating up $20 million
what team is
a
going to
year.
take that contract?
We can't get rid of him. Someone's going to want Lonzo Ball. Someone's going to want him.
Maybe if he plays.
We just need someone else to replace him and
If
have
he
a
plays.
body out there.
If
They
he
could
plays.
give us another 15 to 16 points a game like he was doing, you know. But other than that, we'll be watching. We're gonna do another show again next week. You know, covering the NFL. We'll do a little bit more NBA. We'll probably do an NBA show because there's a lot I like to talk about in the NBA. Other than the Bulls, I do love my Bulls, but there's some other teams that stay in your face and you just have to talk about them, like the Brooklyn Nets. And Ben Simmons.
And the horrible season that the LA Lakers are
and the Lakers, you know, with the ongoing saga with Russell Westbrook.
Did you want to make a comment about Pat Bev and his dirty hit?
Okay, look. So here we go. I'm gonna go on record. We're from Chicago through and through. But look, man, I've been watching Patrick Beverley play for all these other teams, and I will say, I don't hate on any man that's trying to earn their money. But this man here is not playing basketball. I mean, what he's playing is ghetto ball, bro. This is what you call ghetto ball. This is what you call county ball. County ball. You sitting there hacking away at people, punching, kicking, grabbing nuts, shoving people in the back without looking. I mean, this is just like, it doesn't look good for us. You know what I'm saying? I know there's fights in all of these other sports. I know there's fights in hockey and baseball. You see all that. But, bro, you have too many incidents like this. And it just doesn't look good. Even though you're on the Lakers and I love my Lakers, you just don't look like you belong on the Lakers. And what are you really doing every game? What? 3-4 points a game and you playing 25, 30 minutes? You're not doing anything out there except hurting people. Your 3-point percentage is falling off ridiculously. I watch the Lakers games and you ain't hitting nothing. Now you're basically looking like Alex Caruso. Every time the ball falls in your hands, you're looking around to see who to pass the ball off to because you're afraid to take a shot. Sorry, Alex, but that's what you're looking like right now. But I don't condone that, and I didn't like that play at all. I didn't like the fact that Ayton and Booker were standing over Austin Reeves on the floor like that because that didn't look good either. And the refs should have called a technical as soon as that happened, but they didn't want to call it because it's Devin Booker. He's a star. Oh, it's DeAndre Ayton. He's also a star. We're not going to call that on him, even though Reeves got smacked in the face, hit, and then follow through hit in the face, put down. Then this guy walks over him like he's Mr. Swole over him, and then Ayton walks over to doing the same thing. That was all uncalled for. But the refs could have taken care of that with double technicals. Beverly, you didn't need to walk up behind this guy or run up behind him and sucker shove him, to the ground. He could have really got hurt like that because he wasn't expecting that coming. And you know how it is when you get hit without expecting it.
That push was
unacceptable, in my
you
opinion.
could call it unacceptable, but he did another push against Chris Paul a couple of years ago.
That was also unacceptable.
That was
Remember
a
how
violent
mad I
push.
was?
But
boom! You saw how his neck snapped.
Pat
back when
Bev
he
is a dirty, filthy player.
yeah, he
You're not going
is.
to get no argument with me. He's a dirty player. But in this case, I kind of justify that push because those two players were standing over was it Austin?
Austin Reeves.
Austin Reeves. They were standing over him and they wouldn't move, and the refs didn't do anything.
Yeah, that was wrong.
And so, Pat Bev, we can say what you want about him, but he protects his team. He stands up for his team no matter who he's playing with. He will bring that toughness to a team.
I am surprised that you're saying that.
Well, he brings the toughness to the team. He always does. That's one thing about him. I think he's a dirty, filthy piece of shit player, but he will defend your team. Someone like him, I would have liked to have him on the Bulls last year when Grayson Allen decided to injure Caruso, and you would see Pat Bev out there would not be tolerating that crap against Grayson Allen, would be the one on his ass. Yeah, they didn't. He just stand over them. Why is the ref not doing anything? The ref is just sitting there looking over there and not paying attention. So now they want to jump in. But one thing you should look at the ref. Why didn't you do anything when he was standing over that player? You didn't call no T. You didn't do anything. So I don't blame Beverly for doing that. Now, yes, he got thrown out the game for that. And look at this. He's standing right over them. Just looking. You know what I mean? Anthony Davis should have did something too.
No, he didn't want to get that.
No, he could have did this. He could have did this to move out the way.
Yeah.
He could have move out the way, get off the player, and that would have been it.
Yep.
No, he didn't do that. Anthony Davis could have done something too. He's another.
Come on now, this man's putting up.
No, he's a softie. He's a softie.
Yeah, that was dirty.
Yeah, I remember that.
In the bag you were just talking about with Chris Paul.
Yeah, I remember that.
Someone does that to you, they can mess your spine up, bro.
Of course.
You know that, right?
That one he did to Chris Paul, that was
Super
dirty.
Yeah.
But hey, he's probably gonna get suspended if he did. Did he get suspended for that? He probably got like a 1-game suspension.
He did get one game for that.
But it is what it is. We'll talk more about this and other stories in the NBA when we get a little bit further into the NBA because you said we're going to get into it because there's a lot of things going on in the NBA.
Brooklyn, I definitely want to talk about Brooklyn, the Lakers, of course, our Bulls. Those are the main teams that I have my eyes focused on this year. I'm not that impressed with Philly. Philly doesn't look like they're going to do shit.
Well, Harden's hurt.
I'm sorry.
Harden is injured.
I'm sorry. They don't look like they're going to do
And they had the other one, Maxi's injured.
Yep.
They have half their team is injured.
Yep.
So, but I didn't really think they're going to do much anyway, even if those guys are healthy.
Come on, bro.
Harden and Chris Paul are those players that will never win a championship.
Harden's an animal.
Stop.
He can play.
Yeah, until the playoffs come around and he can't do anything in the
playoffs.
playoffs. That beard's going to grow forever because he's never going to win a championship.
All right.
Anyway, with that being said, I wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving
Yes.
to you and your families.
Yes.
And Mike, go ahead and plug the plug us.
First, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Catch us on YouTube, Sports Opinion with Regular Guys. Also on Spotify, Stitcher. You find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, any one of those. If you want to have any questions or any comments, please feel free to leave them. I always check my our email to see if there are any valid questions. We don't really do celebrity, questions or gossip questions or anything like that. If it's sports related, I'll get back. If it's not, I'll just give you a like. All right. So anyway, thanks for watching. Enjoy your day with your families. We'll see you again.
Happy Thanksgiving. See you next week.